Claude Truffaut podcast. I'm your host Luke, and today we are going to be discussing the Cahiers du Cinéma group of the French New Wave. Specifically, we're going to be going over the similarities and differences between all the directors, and then we picked two movies from Rohmer and Rivette, specifically The Green Ray and Celine and Julie Go Boating, and we will be discussing those today. We are by no means any experts on the Cahiers du Cinéma. I mean, Danny and I have never even seen a Chabrol movie, so we still do respect them a lot, and
we do. Yes.
We do like them. We just haven't seen enough,
Yes.
So to start off, I need to introduce my hosts. I'm here with my host Blake.
What's up?
And Danny.
Hello.
And so I guess to start off, I think we should go around and say what's the comparison or similarity or comparison, or difference, I should say, between all the directors that you see. So I'll probably start off and say I think it's kind of obvious. I mean, the auteurship between all of them, I feel like is like the most obvious one, because that's basically what they were all like striving for. The whole new wave is about authorship and define the norm, I feel like, and you can definitely see it in all of these directors.
So when you say auteurship, what do you mean? Like when you think of their movie specifically?
You can, if you watch a Godard movie, any Godard movie,
Yes.
you're gonna know it's a Godard movie. That's basically what authorship is. It's that the director uses his camera as a writer would use his pen, it's basically what they were wanting to achieve with this whole new wave, and what they wanted to do, change about cinema in general.
So when I think of the way you phrased it was similarities and differences between these directors, basically kind of in relation to what I think of the Cahiers du Cinéma group of these five, I have to think of literally the magazine. And not only just because obviously we definitely are not well read on it. I've read more recently about it, but I haven't read that much of their writings, only some of them.
Yeah.
But what I think of is the difference between just being critical, like, because they were known as being very, like, almost flamethrowery, right? Like, hot take.
Yeah.
They were the hot take cannons of their day, like Stephen A. Smith.
Really, any
right?
old directors, I feel like, were like.
But
you've seen like Bergman and Tarkovsky.
Yes. No, a lot of directors were, but they were more. But Bergman and Tarkovsky were not writing on other movies all the time, right? They were just directors only.
Yeah.
But what I always think about is with them is it's honestly kind of inspiring. Is not only did they write, but a lot of them were writing at the time knowing they were kind of working out their own theories.
Yeah.
Because they had the goal of making movies someday.
Okay.
And when they did make them, they were still movies that lasted, right? They were the young kids that ended up being right.
They were the young
kids.
And that's kind of inspiring. Like, at the time, no one would have guessed a lot of the famous French directors in the 50s that were making a lot of money. If you had told them, oh, these kids that are just making fun of you and saying, you're too influenced by the studio and stuff, their movies that are going to be way cheaper, just made on the street, like poor audio quality sometimes, everything you can name about what a studio movie's not like. Those are the movies that are going to be remembered in the future. Right? No one would ever believe you.
Yeah, but
right. But the way they were writing about their movies is they knew.
And their movies just had more of a pulse, I feel like. They felt more alive than them.
And that's part of the auteurship aspect you were speaking about, right?
Yeah.
It has that personal. You go back and you want to watch a Godard movie, right? Like, and I've noticed this more, and it's one of my favorite parts is, especially watching Godard and Truffaut. These two I've noticed the most because I've watched the most too of them. Is they did all kinds of genres. But you can still tell, like, right away, oh, this is Truffaut, just the way he paces his movies, or for Godard, there'll just be random philosophical scenes where they just go in, like, deep philosophical dialogue. No, it doesn't matter the
just
genre,
randomly,
right? And it's amazing, but all of them have little personal touches like that, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that's what I'll think about the most is not only, I guess I didn't really say it clearly, is when I'd only think of their writing, I think of how they were writing, wanting to apply that to actual directing, right?
Yeah.
Not just being the hot take cannon, but actually trying to back it up as well.
Yeah.
And the fact that a lot of them kept making movies for a long time. They clearly loved making movies.
Yeah. They couldn't live without it.
Godard is still alive and making movies.
Yeah, it's
right.
crazy.
And we're talking about his movies that he made in the 60s.
Yeah, they basically live and breathe.
Yes.
Basically.
It wasn't fake.
They're classic Clint
Eastwood. It wasn't just for money.
Yeah, I think I saw something like before Truffaut died. I saw that he was actually planning to make 5 more movies and was gonna just like retire and write books, basically, like write. And it just shows like this dude's like probably knows he doesn't have much left. He's like, I gotta get 5 more movies in there, like just to
That's crazy. He always had. I mean, that's something I have noticed about because this last week preparing for the Greenway, I read some of Eric Rohmer's interviews, and he mentioned a few in his interviews how he always had ideas. You know, he's always has ideas for the next movie. You know, he always had ideas for a few movies. You know, they all did, right? It was just like, could they get the money to make it? Could they get the right people to do it? That kind of thing. And that goes into the authorship aspect you were talking about. Yeah. Because it is harder than just a writer wanting to write a book, right? Because the idea could be the same, but the filmmaker has to get all these other people. You have to get a producer to be like, please trust me and give me money to make this. And you have to trust all this cast to come and do it. And they'll be like, why are we just filming this weird scene where like you're saying words that don't make any sense? A good artist will be like, trust me, it'll make sense. It'll make sense in the editing, right? Like, but see, that's what I find inspiring about it, and what I like about it. But I guess Blake.
Yeah, what about you?
I don't want to talk too much. So.
No, I honestly just respect the differences between all of them, honestly.
Okay.
Because not one of them's the same. They don't ever like none of their movies like you notice the differences in all their movies. Like it's the authorship like you were talking about. Like it obviously it plays in the differences between all of them too. And like you were even saying how Rivette and Rohmer had like a falling out kind of, and like it just shows with the magazine. It just goes to show like these are people with personal like opinions, and they like different movies and they make different movies.
Yeah. Just because they were called French New Wave directors or the Cahiers du Cinéma group doesn't mean they were all the same and had the same opinions about everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I've gotten the most out of watching all of them, at least. Because like whenever I used to think about French New Wave, you would just think of like Godard and Varda and Truffaut and all these, and you'd think that they were a lot alike.
You think, at least compared to, if I'm watching Japanese cinema, they're all the same compared to Japanese cinema.
Yeah, like that's at least how I used to think about it. And like but once you actually start watching it, you're like, no, oh my god, these guys are all different. They all have completely different interests.
And for me, one of the best part, just to kind of go off what you said, different interests, is the fact that they wrote about it too. Yeah. To where you can really go deep.
They actually
into what
put it down on paper.
You could see their writings and how would that match to their movies, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about like technical aspects? Do you think are similar?
Okay.
Like, I mean, I guess you were talking about earlier improvisation.
Yes.
They all heavily use improv.
Yes, that's a good point. Yes, they trusted their actors because a lot of their movies are character studies, right? Yeah. And so, because of that, they understood you have to trust your actor to a large degree, especially since a lot of them were making movies or films about women at the time, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of them did trust their the actresses they cast to show to admit a lot of their own lives, right? Through improv, right? Yeah. Trying to get stuff out of them that they obviously couldn't even think of. That's part of the improv, right?
Yeah. I mean, if I had Anna Karina and like Jean-Pierre Laude, I would trust them with my life. I mean,
I would trust them with my life.
Yes. Or Celine, what we're going to talk about later, Celine Julie Gaudin. A lot of that is improv, right? Yeah. A lot of that's you can tell, honestly. Like, you could tell they were giving a lot of their ideas to the movie too, not just Rivette alone.
For sure.
And I think we also another point that's similar. I mean, I think we talked about this in an earlier episode, how they basically use Paris as like a character, basically.
Yes, we did.
A lot of them do use that. I mean. Yes. And I really like when they do that. I like when just directors use that in general. Like it just makes it like more interesting. I feel like because like, sure the characters are cool, but I feel like this adds another element to their movie they're telling. I mean,
it makes it feel alive.
Like yeah.
Yes, that was what I was about to say. Damn. Yeah. Well, you mentioned technical side, so I kind of want to mention this kind of. The first thing that comes to mind, it's a very specific part of one movie, and I'll kind of base it off that is. I think we've all seen Viva la Vie, so I it. The scene where someone all of a sudden gets shot while they're in the restaurant, and when the camera pans, it's a machine gun. He literally puts a machine gun burst while it pans, and it kind of just cuts like a machine gun almost, and it's just it's like so random but amazing too. But like that's the personal touch aspect, right? It's like
and Godard does that in a lot
good
of his
movie
movies.
would be like, oh, that's so incoherent, it doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. But
Godard does that in a lot of his movies.
Oh yes, it's very self-aware. Godard knows what he's, it's just like. I'm doing this, you know.
Yeah, because you can think about, like, because you said earlier whenever we were talking about Breathless, how he cut in a train sound whenever Michelle's like just like going off on her saying a lot of sexy stuff, and then he also does that in Band of Outsiders, just with the 1 minute of like silence.
Oh, basically, he just
turns off everything.
That's like honestly my favorite scene in the movie.
That's my favorite.
That's
scene
like the only
in the
one
movie
I'll
too,
probably remember in the future until I watch it.
Flaming it. Yeah,
honestly,
that's fine. That's fine.
I don't want to go. We don't have to talk about that movie. We don't have to talk about it. I just want to mention how that feels like the least Godard movie I've seen so far.
Yeah, I feel like that or I was gonna say V versus V is like
really
the next one. I feel like
Band of Outsiders feels a lot like Godard to me, honestly.
Okay, I guess that's a good. Honestly, we'll have to talk about it at some point. What is a Godard movie to us?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the thing. He made so many movies and was experimental in so many ways. Like that can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
I just think he doesn't go as off the balls with both those movies than some of his other ones.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah,
yes.
off the wall. Those are like I feel like his 2 most grounded movies that I've seen so far, at least. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Well, any of the other directors you want to mention? Anything else? I think we talked a decent amount about it. I do want to mention Truffaut though, because you mentioned how he just wanted to write books.
Yeah.
After he made 5 more movies, which is also a lot of movies.
Yeah.
I do want to read more about him. Read more of his writing because I really loved watching his movies so far.
Yeah. Do you think he's the most versatile director in the French New Wave? I've thought about that a little bit.
It's honestly, that's a good way to talk about these 5 too, because it feels like Godard and Truffaut, at least from what I know, I can't say too much, but it does feel like Truffaut and Godard were a little more versatile in their genres.
Yeah.
Compared to Rohmer, who was like making he's the Ozu of the group.
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
Which is nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with
that.
And he knew,
he knew what he wanted to do and he stuck to that.
There's nothing wrong with that, and that's honestly the best part of it. Like you can do either one, and you can still see their creativity.
And Rivette wanted to do long ass movies. You know, that's on him. He wanted to do those.
Yes.
You want to go crazy?
No, you were saying actually how the reason why Rivette makes long movies because he said why not.
Yes, like he said I remember there's this interview on Criterion Channel of him talking about why he would make long movies, and he said he just wishes more people could make long movies like they did in the old days, you know.
Like they did in the old days.
He's the Bellatar of the French New Wave.
Okay. Bellatar makes different long movies, but yeah.
Slow long movies, not.
Yes, very slow. But I guess another thing we should mention, we do need to watch Chabrol at some point as well.
Oh yeah,
I've seen a couple of his.
He has a lot of movies.
He does have a lot of movies. I've seen a couple of his, and he definitely seems to at least take a lot more from Hitchcock than the other ones have.
And he wrote that book with Rohmer about Hitchcock. So.
Which is that's still crazy that Rohmer wrote a book about Hitchcock.
Watching his movies.
Watching it, it's so weird.
Polar opposites.
But you were saying it's because of the suspense and not wanting to know what happens in the next scene, and you do get that in Rohmer's movies for sure. Yeah. It's just in a different type. It's a different type of suspense for sure.
And I keep saying I want to mention one last thing, but I have to mention one last thing is there is some kind of comfort in knowing when you're watching a director's movies that, at least for me, I'll just say for me anyway, when I'm watching a director's movie that I know they know what they're doing.
Yeah. Right.
They have influence that I've never heard of. They're reading books that they're basing it on some like 18th century novel that's what the story's based on, right? And just like a director that's just part of the authorship, and like kind of what we've talked about the whole time is just trusting a director knows what they're doing. Yeah. So even if maybe you don't get it on the first watch, you know that, maybe if I did watch it again, I actually would like it more. That kind of feeling, right? Because you're like, it's probably me that missed something.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, for sure. That's basically how I feel whenever I am not like a huge fan of like a classic movie.
And I'm not saying you have to be a fan of every one of their movies.
Yeah.
No. But even when you're not a fan, it makes you think, right? Yeah. Even if you're not a fan, you have to think about why you're not a fan.
Yeah. And I find myself being like, okay, I need to rewatch that, like
for the vast majority of them. Yes.
Not a vast. Oh.
Well, like I know
it's not even if you have to. It's that it might get better if you did rewatch.
Yeah.
It. You know.
That's what.
Like most great movies should, or good movies should be.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's true. But I mean, well, I guess this is a good time to go to break. After the break, we will be discussing Celine and Julie Go Boating and
the Green Ray.
The Green Ray. So we're back from break, and I guess we're gonna dive on into the first movie we picked for today, Celine and Julie Go Boating. And what I wanted to start off with this movie is talk about how just the uniqueness of it, because when you're first getting into it, it feels like your standard, relationship, like quirky relationship, drama maybe, and then all of a sudden it turns into a sci-fi murder mystery kind of plot. Like, it's just something I've never seen before. But
and it's not only that it turns into, it's the way it turns into.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
I guess I'll say this because when you said that, it made me think of the way it turns into that is it kind of treats everything on the same level still, even though crazier and crazier things are happening.
Yeah.
Like the characters, like normally if a character's getting into crazier and crazier situations, they'll start reacting differently, right? They'll be like, oh, this is way too crazy. Like the movie starts trying to play it as something crazy happening. But this one, it's like, oh no, they're kind of just living their moral life. Like even as crazy and crazier things happen, for the most part, there are some scenes where they realize what's happening, but in terms of their reactions aren't just normal. But for the most part, it's like what the movie's kind of about. They're making a piece of art or watching a piece of art or watching a movie. Filmmaking specifically, watching a movie, right? It kind of feels like that. Even if you're watching,
I'd say even more writing a novel. I feel like.
So what do you mean?
The way they changed the murder mystery at the end, it almost like the way they figure out they can change things. It's like a novel,
especially basically. The murder mystery.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about mainly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does feel like maybe like a murder mystery novel would be like the twist ending or something like that.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. So I don't know, Blake. What do you think then? You haven't said really much yet.
No, well, I don't even think like murder mystery. I just think there's a certain it's like Rivette's trying to show you that you yourself have a certain amount of influence over what art you're consuming, like what you're getting out of the art you're consuming. Yeah. Like this movie, it's so freaking weird. Like it's almost to the point where he doesn't want you to think anything of, like he doesn't, like this movie doesn't even really like have a plot, honestly. He's just trying to he just wants you to come to your own conclusions about what's happening. Like he wants you to draw out he wants you to draw out yourself what you think this movie means, almost. Like I don't think there's a person too dumb for this movie technically, because I don't think he made it for any one person, honestly. Yeah. Like I think he made it just to see like what people would think differently about it.
Because so what you said there in terms of what you said there reminded me of this interview. What I was talking about, I think earlier I mentioned the Rivette interview that he did on Criterion. There's from like 2004 or something about this movie. It's like 20 minutes long. He mentions at one point that all the interpretations of this movie are right.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, and that's right. Like you said, there's no plot, right? So there's nothing to read and say, oh, this is exactly what happened.
Yeah,
a lot of what happens in the movie is based on what you think about the movie in the first place.
Yeah,
right. There's a lot of openness to it.
Yes, it's a very open movie, and that's what I like about it a lot. Like, because I honestly think that the main point of this movie is him trying to show you that you yourself have influence over other people's works, kind of like you yourself draw meaning from their works, not the other way around. Like they're not trying to tell you this
at least
stuff.
In a good piece of art.
Yeah, at least in a good piece of art. Yeah,
especially in a movie like this.
Yeah.
Because so what made you think of that specifically with scenes in the movie or anything? What made you think?
Well, just the entire, once I figured out what the movie was, so like honestly,
it does take a long time.
The first hour and a half, I honestly felt like I was like, what even is this movie, dude? Like I did not know what was happening. And then as I started realizing, like to me, I was like, oh, this is just a drug trick movie. In the second half, I was like, oh, okay, this got way more interesting. I don't know. I was like, it got way more weird and interesting. And then, honestly, the things that just made me think of that was how they influenced the movie that they're watching, the book they're influencing, however you want to view their situation, like the scenes they're entering into. Because I remember the first time I noticed the nurses and the switching, like the nurses weren't the same in the different scenes, and I was like, wait. Am I remembering right, or is this not the same person?
Are my eyes good?
Because they don't realize that they have influence over this movie until like the very end either.
And I think that's honestly part of the movie is the first few scenes that you watch of the house. It is boring.
Yeah.
It's a straightforward.
Yeah. You're like, why is this?
It's a straightforward romance with three people, a triangle, love triangle, right?
Yeah.
But then the more, like you're saying, the more influence you start to have over your art, the art gets better, right? They're starting to have, from their the way I see it is they're starting to have more fun with it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing I love about this movie is Julie and Celine themselves. Like,
friendship.
they carry
friendship.
the movie so hard, dude. Like,
Yes,
their friendship together is just, that was the joy of watching this movie, was how fun they had.
Yeah.
Was how much fun they were having.
Yes, fun through that creation of art, right?
Yes.
The way they viewed it anyway. Like, they viewed it as... I like how it gets them out of their real world. You know, because especially Julie, right? Because you can tell, like, she's dancing for a bunch of men. That's her job.
Yeah,
you know, like, you can tell Julie definitely doesn't like that and stuff. But the more they get into the art, right, you start to see their true, at least the way I see it, their true personalities, right?
It's an escape.
Yes, that escape, but it's also it doesn't feel like pure escapism. It also feels like at least something meaningful.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like they are putting themselves into it.
No, yeah, that's even something they say at the end. They're like, "Do we actually want to do this or something like that?"
No, that's a great scene where they're talking about the dream. Like,
yeah, because they don't know if they actually want to change this. Like, they were like, "Do we actually want to take this girl out?"
Yeah, what they say.
I
I think one of them says like, "I'm kind of scared of that dream or something." Right?
Yeah.
Do we really want to do this? Yeah, because that's a great scene because it's not all fun at the same time, right?
No.
There is some kind of, at least the way I read it is, there is some kind of openness or honesty you have to have with yourself if you're gonna make some kind of art like that.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's not always just fun; it's gonna be scary too.
Definitely.
And for them, like the representation of that in the movie is them going to finally rescue the girl.
Yeah, putting yourself out in anything is hard to do.
Oh, that's true. Yes, but definitely you hear artists say that all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like it doesn't matter what kind of art. They're like, that might be the hardest part, you know. Especially in a movie like this, that's obviously, like we were saying, is so open.
Yeah.
You know? And like I think we mentioned this more when we were talking about the Cahiers du Cinéma group, but the improvisation, there was a lot of that in this movie.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well. And I just feel like you can see that from their relationship.
Yeah, it feels real.
It feels real, like, and it feels real in a way that you could tell those two actresses had a lot of control of what that relationship
There's
was
a
gonna be
certain
like,
point in this
right?
movie, because at the first hour of this movie, they don't even seem like that good of friends. But at a certain
they
point, you
seem
just
like
buy
they
into
They meet
it.
randomly, though.
Yeah, like at a certain point, you
yes,
just buy into
yes.
it. You're just like, oh yeah, these people have known each other forever, basically, because that's how they act. I mean,
And it's honestly like it might just be the more they start creating the art, the more they start coming together. Right?
Yeah.
Like, that kind of thing.
they start to they learn more about each other as they're doing this, as they're having these experiences together.
And one scene that makes me think of that is, like, they start to become more of like the same person in some ways.
They do.
And literally they start to switch places, right? Like the scene where Julie or Celine takes the place of Julie's date. Remember, because that guy from her past is calling on the phone, and then Celine answers and is like, "Oh yeah," she acts like Julie's like, "I'll meet you," and they like have this weird scene in the park.
Yeah.
Just one of the weirdest scenes ever. But
it kind of reminds me a lot of Persona. Because you remember in
you
Persona,
you got to expand.
Because you remember in Persona, like it's a lot about them becoming each other.
Okay,
almost,
yes, I see what you're saying.
I mean, Blake, have you seen Persona?
I haven't seen
It's been a
it.
while.
I don't know.
It's been a while for me too.
Yeah,
but
we shouldn't spoil it. I mean,
the main theme of that movie is kind of like that.
I think this movie definitely was probably inspired by that. Now, I just thought of that. Like, I didn't even think about that before, but
No, he definitely had watched Bergman's movies.
oh yeah, I mean, but like, yeah, that's very apparent with that.
That's a good. That's a good. Now I want to watch Persona again.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. What else? What else do you guys like about the movie?
Well, I mean, I like to talk about the opening and ending scenes.
Yes,
Because
I don't want to forget that.
so yeah, the opening scene, I feel like I really like it.
Because in I think it's in that same Criterion interview I was mentioning, that 20-minute interview on Criterion. I can't recommend. It's only 20 minutes. I can't recommend it enough. But he mentions how he got the idea for that opening where Julie's Celine is running across, drops something while Julie's reading that book. He got that idea of the opening from Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, with the book, of when the rabbit is running by, he's late for something. He has like that rhyme of I'm late for. I forget what the rhyme was, but it's something about being late, and then Alice just follows her, and that's how they get into the world. It's very similar in this.
That
right?
is very similar.
And he said that on purpose. He got the idea from Alice in Wonderland of Celine running across. Julie decides to follow her, and that's how the movie starts. They basically enter another world at that point.
Right? And this is the opposite at the very end?
Or the same.
Oh, yeah.
Or the same, yeah.
It just they flipped.
Yeah.
It's flipped characters, but it's kind of the same beginning.
It is the
right?
exact same. Yeah.
It just.
I guess this is kind of this is not directly related, but what do you think of that book she's reading throughout? And just the whole magical aspect of it, of the movie, and all that. Because there's a lot of that astrology, magic, that kind of. At least it touches a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
At least in the characters' heads, that's their reasoning behind why all this stuff is happening, right? They even in a great scene in the library where they go and steal the spell book because the one they have now is not working. It's a great scene when they go and steal it. But, like in the roller skates and stuff.
No, yeah, dude. I had actually forgotten about the astrological stuff in this movie until you brought that up.
There's a lot of it though.
There is a lot of it, yeah.
Like the weird board they have.
Yeah.
With the dolls and stuff. Like honestly, I don't even know what that all means. You know, I'm not an expert on any of that. So.
No. whatever you want to mean.
At least in the characters' heads, that's what's doing their explaining. Like that's why all this stuff is happening. At least it's on the movie, right? They're literally making the candy from spells and stuff.
Making the candy from spells, just getting drunk as shit apparently on purple juice.
Or some drug. The purple juice.
The purple juice scene is just so funny,
I love
dude.
that moment where they decide to give some to the fish.
Yeah, dude.
Because they cut to that fish a few times.
Yeah, they do.
No, I just love how. This is another thing I'll remember about the movie, and we'll talk about this later with Rohmer too. Is how simple the movie is, and it trusts the audience to understand what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So just one cut to the house, they're at the house, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to understand, right? You know?
Yeah.
Or eventually later on in the movie, they just all of a sudden cut to the other, and this is on purpose, where sometimes they can go to the other house literally, and other times they go to the house just by their dreams, and there's really no connection behind it. It's like.
Dude, it's so weird sometimes.
They're dreaming about the movies, and
sometimes they don't even have to use two different candies. They can both use just one candy,
yes.
and that's also a weird part about them becoming one, because like maybe that's what it's talking about. Like,
this is when you say the candy part. Do you remember the scene that kind of makes me think of just watching movies in general? Is when they're like, "Oh, I'm getting kind of bored," and Celine is like, "I want to go take a smoke break." And, Julie's like, "Oh, I don't want to. Let's keep watching."
Yeah.
they eat the candy.
Yeah.
Bit too close to home for Blake.
Yeah.
A bit too close to
Like, no, you're staying.
We need to pause this for a second.
But yeah, this movie was a fever dream, honestly.
No, it was, and the one criticism I do have is,
okay.
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know if I would have this criticism if I watched it again, but I definitely felt the time.
Yeah, that's my main criticism.
Like it
too,
did.
Yeah.
I felt it a lot until honestly, once the second half got going, I didn't feel it as much because once I figured out like what the movie was doing, I think I got into it more. Yeah. Which is why I don't know if it would feel the same the second time.
Yeah, I definitely need to rewatch.
But it would. I definitely felt the 3 hours and 15 minutes in this movie. It felt long.
Yeah. Nah, that's just a lot of
And I mean, I mean, you're watching literally the same scenes over and over again.
You don't know what
just
to expect,
looking for like slight differences. Basically, it's like a super. I mean, it's supposed to feel kind of long, but it drew me in towards the end. That's the one thing I'll say about it. That's why I liked it, because it did draw me in.
Yeah, it definitely does.
I definitely do think a rewatch would help.
Yeah,
because I'll know what to expect. You know.
I definitely didn't know what to expect going into this one.
Me either.
Not what I got. Not what I got.
Honestly, one of the best parts about the movie is no matter how you even probably described it to someone, they really cannot know what to expect until they went to watch it.
If you told someone this movie is it's called Celine and Julie Go Boating, and they watch the movie expecting them to go boating or be on a boat like I did, at least at some point, and they get to the end, and then literally the only time they mention the boating is at the very end. It's like, oh, you want to go boating today? Oh, maybe, or something like that.
You're like, oh my God. And the title's like making you wait for that.
Yeah, I was like, what the?
You need the final Leo meme, you know, like, oh
yes.
Yeah.
But you saying that made me think of kind of what we were talking about at the beginning about the authors, just the Cahiers du Cinéma group in general. Like this movie is not part of any genre. And I'll probably have to watch way more Rivette movies. I've only seen 2, but it's a Rivette movie.
Yeah.
You know, that's how you explain what a movie is. And you kind of have to just watch that to understand what that means, really. But that shows itself in all these kinds of ways that we're talking about. We've only seen it once. So. And I was reading this interview he did like in 2001 where he just reviewed a bunch of like movies really quickly. And he reviewed The Obscure Object of Desire. And I mentioned that for 2 reasons. So the first reason is even The Obscure Object of Desire came out after this movie. So maybe the Buñuel movie. Buñuel's last movie. And something he does is switch at randomly in the movie. He starts switching the actresses just throughout the movie without telling anyone. He treats them as the same actress, but he just starts switching them. Like imagine if Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, you know, like Aunt Viv, where they switched her halfway. Like imagine if they started just switching them back and forth throughout the episodes, and they never say anything about it. Like, that's basically what he does in Obscure.
I could definitely see Buñuel.
But he might have got that idea from this one, Celine and Julie Go Boating.
He might have.
Knowing Buñuel, he probably just like thought of it like, hey, that'd be fun.
He could have. But there's similarities in there in terms of that surrealist aspect, right?
Oh yeah.
Like you're not supposed to understand everything that's going on. It's random on purpose, like to some degree, right?
Yeah.
Open anyway. Like it has multiple interpretations. However, whichever viewer's watching it, almost.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And that is why it's also dangerous making it. That's why this movie, honestly, it's surprising it works as well, because it is dangerous making a movie like that. Because it fully depends.
It would fail.
It fully depends on the viewer, like honestly, for the most part. I mean, it doesn't fully depend, obviously, because you can still watch the movie and enjoy Julie and Celine.
Well,
but it definitely relies on the viewer a lot to at least be having a good day.
That's true. I don't know about the good day part. I will say. It does ask a lot of the viewer, and that's something I like about we could have mentioned this earlier when we were talking about all these directors is they were not scared to ask a lot of their audience as well.
No, they weren't.
Like we'll talk about this with Rohmer later too, but their movies are not just necessarily about some exciting thing that's going on the screen. It's maybe trying to force you to think about something. You know, it wants you to be an active watcher,
an active participant in the movie.
Literally, that's what the movie's about to a large degree, right?
Yeah,
like
that's what this movie's about, basically.
But to what you're saying, it's not an easy movie to watch, right? Like
no,
the good
not
mood,
the first time.
The good mood thing is probably more like you have to be willing to be that active participant. You don't want to be like a bad.
I mean, at a certain point, if you're sitting down to watch a 3-hour-long movie, you're probably in a decent mood to begin with. So.
That's why it made it 3 hours.
I mean, maybe because it's only people that actually want to watch that movie are going to be watching it if it's 3 hours long. So
but I guess it's a good time to transition to the Green Ray. I mean, I guess I'll start off with the thing that mainly like I got out of it was how just natural the dialogue was. Like the dialogue, everyone felt like real people, and feel like what real people would say in that situation.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's important because all this movie was improvised basically.
Oh, just like Celine and Julie Go Boating.
Yeah, Celine and Julie, a lot of it. This basically all improvised though.
Yeah.
Just basically on the day of the set, they would just, especially with the main actress. What's her name? Marie Riviere. I don't know how to say it correctly. But
you'd have to look it up.
I'll look it up and I'll check in a second. But yes, that natural aspect, right?
Oh,
you're saying.
And she did a really good job in this movie. Like amazingly calm yet melancholic. I feel like she did such a good job with that.
And it's that dichotomy of the movie, right? I'll mention it now. I guess the English title originally for this movie was Summer.
Yeah.
And I kind of like both. I like both titles. Obviously, the Green Ray, it's more fitting for the movie itself. But Summer is also a good title because it makes you think of that kind of that tension that comes with summer of it's ending. You know, if I have a good time now, it's gonna end. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And for her especially, it's like she can't even get to that part where she's having a good time in summer, right? She's only thinking about the ending to some degree. Like, and a lot of Rohmer's movies are like that.
No, yeah, right? That's what I was saying. Is they actually are kind of because the only other one I've seen of his features because I have seen I think one of his shorts, but The Collector it literally feels like a summer vacation as you're watching it, and it's supposed to because that's kind of what the main male actor is. He's literally on vacation basically, and that's what one of the collectors of vases tells him at the very end whenever he's trying to like tear him down. He's like, you're literally just on vacation all the time. You don't do anything basically, and it's pretty cool. Yes. But that is what the Green Ray feels like a lot too. And she even says like, I have 2 weeks of vacation and I've been back to Paris 5 times or 4 times or something. I've been in and out of Paris 4 times or something like that.
That's a great part of the movie because it's literally the scene before that where she's talking to her friend in the barbershop, I think is her friend works at.
Yeah.
And because she had just gotten back from going to the mountains, and I think when she goes and she's like nervous about it, she doesn't know where she's gonna go next. She starts crying randomly. One of the times where she starts crying randomly. Part of that tension we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But she starts crying, and then the other girl's like, "Oh, but you always meet someone when you're least expecting it." And then she's like, "Well, I am least expecting it, so let's meet some." You know, like that kind of like, "Come on, where is it?" Like, I'm least expecting. Where is it? Like that kind of thing. And then she leaves, and that next scene, she meets her old friend that she hadn't seen in a long time. Yeah. And that's the old friend that gives her the place to stay.
Yeah.
Right, and that's how she meets this guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of Rohmer's movies have that kind of aspect of chance. he like strongly believed in that chance as something to look forward to almost like.
Yeah.
It's something more than just pure coincidence kind of thing,
Yeah.
right? It is guiding your life to some degree.
Yeah.
And that's a great, this movie is a great example of that.
It is. I know, at least for me, this movie brought about a lot of feelings of just the way Rohmer films loneliness. I know I said in Vive l'Amour, which is Simon Leong, that he was probably the best director I'd seen filming loneliness, and I mean Rohmer, he obviously. Like, I know that Danny at least said that Hao Xiaoshen is heavily influenced by Rohmer, and I definitely see that now after watching a few Rohmer, and I think Simon Leong is too.
Soo.
Oh, Hong Sang-soo.
Yeah, because I haven't seen Hao Xiaoshen yet.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, Hong Sang-soo definitely is influenced by Rohmer, but I think Simon Leong is too, like, heavily influenced, because his films about loneliness, while filmed like differently, they have that feeling of like just hopelessly lonely, kind of, because you get that feeling from her in this movie a lot. Like, she's just hopelessly lonely sometimes, and it's like she's not even like unhappily lonely. It's like her friends kind of are making her feel unhappy about being lonely, and that's really relatable sometimes. And that's one of the scenes where she like goes up and starts crying, and that's another scene where I think that was right after I noticed he said that green means hope or something. And whenever she's up there crying, her friend comes up with a green hat on and like is trying to, because it's like one of her only friends that's kind of feeling for her, because the other two are making fun of her, and she's like, oh, they mean nothing by it and stuff like that. This is just how, and that's how people talk to you, like friends talk like that, and it is hurtful whenever you're lonely, and whenever you don't have someone, everyone else does. It's like
that feeling.
That feeling is really hard. So.
Like, because remember at the end when she's talking to that girl she meets on vacation. And that girl also is telling her similar things, like, you have to do something. Yes, exactly. And she's like, oh, I'm so tired of hearing that, you have to do something about it. Like, it's so easy to say, right? But,
and you could tell that relationship was going to go down the drain immediately whenever she said that.
Yes.
Yeah, I love the scene where she just runs away from the dinner table. All of a sudden. It's like, just all of a sudden. And I also wanted to bring up a comparison. Did you say he remember and Varda were similar? Did you say that?
I said when we were talking, I think we were just talking off mic, about when I think of all these French New Wave directors, I see them as way more similar than maybe, at least in their style of filmmaking.
Yeah.
Way more calmer. The word I think of just gliding through their movies.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of harsh cuts like a Godard or Truffaut or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a certain lightness to it. Like, that makes me think of the scene in the movie. Honestly, what an amazing scene where she's talking about why she's a vegetarian. And that you can tell she's just so annoyed, but like when people always talk about this, you can just tell, like, because the fact that scene, and I love rewatching it, noticing, not knowing that a lot of it was improvised. You could see her kind of smile in a few parts, but it's like part of the movie almost. Like it feels like she's. You could see her maybe even doing that in a real conversation as well. Not just because she's filming.
No, a lot of these definitely feel like she's probably had these conversations before with her friends. Like she's probably had these conversations. Vegetarian one for sure,
but like that's what I was trying to say is that when she compares herself, she says like she likes light foods. And she's like, I just like things that are light, like not heavy, that kind of thing.
And that's why I like the way it was filmed too, because I love the way Rohmer films just color, because he's not like. The framing is not anything like ridiculous. It's just like he just knows how to film color and to frame well.
Yes.
And he's only, like you say, he did this on $600,000, which is insane. So
the color is what I was bringing up off mic to you about.
Also, along the coast too. Also.
Yeah, along the coast, like it's so similar how easily they film the columns and just the colors of it too.
Or Le Bon Hur too.
Le Bon Hur, yeah, that's true. Well.
Yeah, amazing colors in that.
Oh
movie.
Man.
Honestly, like that. Yeah. But Varda as well.
Yeah, we need to talk about Varda.
We'll get.
Next
I guess
episode.
we're talking next.
Next episode.
Spoiler, we're talking about it next week. But, we'll save her. But
and one of my favorite scenes in The Green Ray is whenever she's just walking by the group of women talking about the book The Green Ray, and then she just goes like right below it and just sits down and just literally becomes us listening to these women.
Exactly. Oh my God. So what do you like about that scene? Like,
no, it's just such a cool scene. Like I don't know. I just liked it almost seemed like just kind of just like Little Women almost, just like not even just like, it just reminded me of just like these group of like women just talking about something they liked. It just reminded me of like a book club. It just reminded me of like a book club almost. Like they just like an impromptu book club. Like they just started talking about it.
But this is when you said that it made me think of. it feels literally like a scene you might just come across naturally if you were walking and just some old ladies were talking about the book they had read called the Green Ray, right?
Oh, definitely.
But at the same time, because of what we've seen in the movie so far and what she's going through, it feels very cinematic at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, like, because I think that's the first time they actually mentioned the Green
Ray.
Ray.
That is the first time they mentioned it. Yeah.
So watching it the first time, you're like, oh, this is why it's called the Green Ray.
Yeah.
Maybe she will see it. You know, that kind of thing.
And the ending.
Because we'll definitely have to talk about that. But because they in that scene when all those old ladies are talking and the old guy comes and starts talking too.
Yeah.
Which I love too. He's just like a classic smart old guy that knows all this random facts and stuff. But he shows the sunset.
Yeah.
In that scene too.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
And they're all like, "Oh, we're never gonna see it. You know, not today, for sure."
Well, they said they were like, "Oh yeah, you won't see it today because it's too like the clouds are too dense."
Yes.
It's like they're filming it. There's like no clouds, but it's like okay. It's like yeah, I believe
whatever you say.
Whatever you say. The conditions weren't right.
So we'll have to get to the ending, but I do want to bring this up because a lot of people criticize Rohmer for is, and I want to bring up a quote that he had later, but I want to ask you guys first is there too much talking? Is there too much just? You can see the criticism of boringness or talking too much or like what why should I care about this, that kind of thing.
I think I follow someone on Letterboxd that has criticized all French New Waves for being too talkative, and I just think it depends on the person. Personally, I don't mind it because I think it just adds to the movies. Like French people rambling. I mean,
French people rambling.
It's
well to
nice
me it's more like
it,
what is the talking about?
Yeah. I think it's a subject matter more than
yeah.
Because this one connects with me a lot more than like something like Godard would do. Like just some of his rambling. Like Michelle's rambling is not on the level of like something like the Green Ray in my opinion, where I just connect with the Green Ray.
I don't think it really needs to though. I mean, like it doesn't need to be.
They're different movies for sure.
Oh, they definitely are. Yeah.
Depicting a negative character.
Yes.
So it is different, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You'd rather hear the talking of positive, like of her. Than Godard's rants or whatever.
Than Godard's rants.
Because the reason I brought that up is there's this quote I read from Rohmer where he answers the criticism of detractors saying that he talks too much, his characters talk too much, and the quote was, "What interests me is to show people who have feelings, and feelings are expressed by gestures and by the spoken word. In real life, people speak a lot. I like to show people who don't talk." Okay, I messed it up. In real life, people speak a lot. Show people who don't talk is false. Showing people who don't talk is false.
Yeah,
so if your goal is to show people as they are in real life, people do talk a lot, like we are right now.
And Rohmer just seems very honest to me. His filmmaking,
yes.
Yeah, in general.
I mean, honestly, that's true with a lot of the French New Wave filmmakers.
Yeah,
right? Their characters do feel more honest.
I know we said that about Truffaut a lot.
It's when we were talking about Foreign Blows. That word's gonna come up a lot for sure. I guess it has already come up a lot.
Yeah. But
we should talk about that ending.
Oh man, what an ending, dude!
It's such a great ending.
Yeah. So what do you guys? Well, I should mention because. She sees the Green Ray. Spoiler alert. Hopefully you've seen the movie. But,
hopefully you've seen
it. But when he decided to make the movie, he's like, "I'm gonna get a shot of this Green Ray." Like basically, he just trusted that he would get a shot of the Green Ray. And he filmed the sunset like basically every day this summer, and they actually got it.
Damn.
And the actress was there when they saw it, and the actor was there too as well. And they only had like a crew of like 5 or 6 people in this movie, so it's not that many people. But, the fact that what they filmed is actually the Green Ray,
It's crazy, man. It's so cool, honestly. Like that honestly just makes the ending so much better.
It does.
Because and like we were saying, like you're gonna hear at the very end of this podcast, the outro, like the ending music to the movie. And it's not even like happy music. It's like it's honestly like weirdly like suspenseful. Kind of like you don't know what's happening next.
That's a great
you
way,
don't know what's happening. You like just like in life, like you might be able to have like hope in this. Like you might see hope. But you never know what's going to happen with that hope. Like, you don't know if this is, like, real or if this is, like,
and the way the movie ends is perfect for that, too, right?
Yeah.
You see the Green Ray. She gets what she wants. But that still doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect after this vacation's over. Or that's going to be the guy she ends up with. Or any of these questions that still obviously remain. Like, honestly, the same questions probably still remain.
It's honestly reminds me of the ending of The Graduate a lot, too. Like, just something like that.
That one's more negative.
Like,
I was going to say it reminds me of the
ending. Oh, definitely a little more negative.
I was going to say it reminds me of the
ending.
But it's, like, ambiguous almost. So.
It kind of reminds me of the ending of 400 Blows, to be honest.
Ambiguity. Okay, I can see that more too. Sure.
Just kind of the theme of it. Obviously, like different fundamentally, but like
yes,
but just the
it could go any sort of way.
Yeah, like
the hopeful ending is just a moment in time. It's not this. Yeah. It's not the happily ever after you might get in a typical Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the last day of
almost
summer.
Like square one, like for the character. It's like
it is. Yeah.
You're happy and sad at the same time, kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, who was happy on the last day of summer? Come on.
I mean, there are a lot of people that are happy to go back to, like, at least the first day of school. Kind of
weird.
Okay,
okay,
I see what you're saying. No, actually, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you get all your friends again.
Yeah, you get tired.
Or just going. I mean, obviously as an adult, you're like, oh, fuck this. But
and honestly,
I gotta go back to work.
She seems like the type of person that might like working.
She definitely does.
Yeah, for sure.
Workaholic.
That could be part of the reason why she feels so pressured to have this vacation. You know.
Yeah, for sure.
The good and it's a relatable scene where at the beginning when her family's asking her, why don't you just come with us to Ireland for the summer, and then like one of the next scenes later, it's like, I can't go to vacation with my family. You know,
I can't go to vacation with my family. I mean, it's true though.
But to some degree, like especially the way she felt, I was like, you know, I'm trying to get away from my family for vacation.
Yeah.
Like, it won't feel like a vacation then, that kind of thing. But
she just wanted to be alone.
Yes. But does she though? It's kind of complicated.
I don't know. Because the whole thing is about her being lonely, and then she also doesn't want to be alone at the same time.
She's such a
it's like she wants to be alone, but also not. Well, she has like
contradictory.
She has idealized versions of what she wants, you know, and she's very strict with that. And it's very hard to find someone if you have these. If you have something that you want to, like if you know what you want in someone, it's very hard to find that specific person. And I think that's something the movie does. I think that's something the movie does very well at showing that, because she doesn't want to just be with anyone. Like, because like you see that with a lot of the other or with a lot of the other like female like leads in this movie, or like actors in this movie, where they aren't like super picky with the men they choose. Mm-hmm. They aren't just gonna go. They aren't sleeping around with everyone, but they aren't like super picky either. They want to have. They're fine to have fun, and she's like, no, that's not what I want in a relationship. Yes. Like she even says that multiple times. Yes. And it's just a very relatable thing, honestly.
It's not only it's the fact like you respect her for being principled like that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're watching her deal with those consequences of real loneliness, right? Like, why am I not just like those some other people? Like, why can't I be more open or something like that? Easygoing. But that's kind of what I like about another interpretation of the ending too, is her seeing the Green Ray is kind of her opening herself up. Okay. Right? To like the way the rest of the movie plays out, you never would have guessed she would just randomly go on this trip with this guy.
No, you.
That's kind of her being like, okay, I'll take a chance, that kind of thing. And for her, it kind of pays off, you know, like when she sees I love the moment when she sees the name of the that kind of tourist building. It's literally called the Green Ray.
Yeah.
And that's how she knows. Yeah, and that's how she knows. And you think that's gonna be like that? That would honestly be a good enough ending, you know?
Yeah.
Like, oh, she saw the Green Ray.
She saw the Green Ray.
But that's what makes her like kind of take another step. Like, okay, man, it's like it's another version of when she sees those cards.
Yeah.
And she, because remember, she even says it specifically in the scene where she's talking to her friends about. I believe in like little superstitions, like when I find when I see something green on the ground or something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of her taking those chances, at least. Like, she's not at least by the end, she's not as hard stance on.
No, she's not. Yeah, she's willing to at least take a chance.
Yes.
And it's just crazy. It's honestly crazy that they actually got the Green Ray.
It's
crazy that they captured that.
Now I want to see one so bad.
Oh, I know, right? Like I mean, is our atmosphere nowadays even able to see the Green Ray?
Because of climate change, no more Green Rays exist.
No more Green Rays exist.
His dedication to getting that shot is very kind of reminds me of Terrence Malick. You know, like Days of Heaven, how he like shot every day at golden hour, you know, and like Tree of Life, the butterfly, like. Basically, he I think it took him like a couple hours, basically he saw the butterfly, he was like trying to land on her finger.
I did not know that. Oh my god.
It felt very Terry Malick to me, honestly.
Or Terry Malick feels very Rohmer-y.
That's true. Yeah. Probably a better way to say it.
Dude, just imagine the feeling that Rohmer must have had whenever they finally saw it. Or like all of them. Like if that, like the actors being there too, they're like, oh god, we gotta be here again at the same fucking time every day.
And there's so much pressure to get that one take, you know?
Yeah, and he's just like sitting there filming it, and they're like, oh, we didn't get it again. And then eventually it finally happens. Like, they must have all just, like, did the little, like, yay, way.
I wanted to mention this because it kind of relates to Rohmer too, just as a person. He was a he was like a literature teacher. In one place I saw it said professor. I don't know if he actually was, but anyway, he knew a lot about ancient literatures, especially like Greek. Like he was very into ancient traditions, like Greece, especially.
Yeah.
And I was reading this review about the Green Ray, where apparently people in ancient Greece, they had this like tradition where at like the end of the Olympic festivals, and actually when the Olympic festivals were getting started, everyone would go and just watch the sunset in silence and stuff, and like
that's pretty cool actually.
Just adding little, like you could tell he was inspired by something like that, and just finding a way to add that kind of tradition in a modern movie.
Yeah, well, and honestly, Rohmer feels like an old Greek writer, just in terms of his moralism. Honestly, like he talks about moralism and films moralism a lot. And like honestly, the old Greek plays and old Greek like epics and stuff, like they are a lot about morals, like the main character's morals and stuff like that.
Yes, it was like those kind of a person that has morals and what happens to them.
Yeah, and what are the consequences? What are the consequences of having those morals?
And this is a perfect example of that in its own modern way, right? Like how does that look like in a 1986 version anyway?
Yeah.
You know. But then at the same time, making it feel natural.
Yeah. Oh yeah, completely natural.
It's a really great movie.
Well, and I mean that's the great thing about even the old Greek writers. They made everything feel natural too. Like if you read those old, like a lot of the old like epics, like it does feel like you still feel real. Like those characters still feel real, especially and they were real. I mean,
maybe not the events so much.
Yeah, maybe not the events, but the characters themselves feel real. And I mean they were real for the most part. Most of the characters in these like epics were real. Like you like they were at least at some point. Like like real. They were like real people, but or something, yeah. Like Hercules is a real guy. It's just like obviously he's not a demigod, you know. Yes. But
I mean, I guess to close out, I wanted to mainly bring up how we brought it up for Celine and Julie Go Boating. And I wonder, since both of you, all of us love this movie, do you guys see any flaws in it?
I think The Green Ray is almost perfect, honestly. Like it's one of my favorites from the French New Wave that we've watched so far, and I don't personally have any real problems with it, honestly.
That's how I feel too. I was just wondering because
considering I just gave it a 5 stars on our podcast. But I mean, it depends on what you mean by flaw. Like what I said earlier about the talking too much. Yeah, if you are a type of person that doesn't like too much talking in movies, you'll say that's a huge flaw. And that would be a flaw if you don't like that.
Yeah, I was more or less referring to personal, just like
for personal
gripes with it. I mean,
probably not. I just like it's kind of it has 2 separate tracks like going at the same time that I like. It's like it feels very detailed, like a very detailed study of a character. Yeah. But at the same time feeling very natural, like the camera's just floating along with her life, that kind of thing. But at the same time getting a very detailed study of who she is just through these casual conversations. Yeah. Which can't be easy to do, especially considering the improvisation involved. But that's what makes it a great movie in my mind. So I just ranted about how good I liked it. So how much I liked it when I was talking about a flaw. But basically, no. Basically, what about Blake? Do you have anything? Maybe I'll think of something.
No, I already said I didn't really have a problem with this one.
What about you? Did you
not really. No, I mean I didn't give it 5 stars.
You gotta have something. You gotta make it interesting. I mean, why do you hate it?
I guess I mean I didn't like love it because I wasn't like super into it personally the whole time. I feel like that's for me to give a movie 5 stars. I have to be into it like the whole time, like completely, fully into it. But I wasn't like all the way into it at all times. There's just sometimes.
I honestly think. Why though? Is that a flaw? Or is that just something?
That was just me. That's a me problem. That's
I honestly think this movie. If you're a little like you are younger, and I mean this movie, like it's like this woman has had life experience, obviously. Like, and she's probably I think she's probably 30 to 40. Maybe late 20s.
Probably, I would say 30s. Maybe
30s. Yeah, because like she's in in my and Danny's age range, and maybe that's the reason like we just connect with them a little bit more because we actually do feel like I don't know. I don't know. I like this movie a lot. I connected with her a lot. So
no, especially like moments definitely. Yeah. Like and even more than just connecting to her, like feeling like she's part. Like I see myself in her. It's I like how much of her we get in the movie.
Yes.
It feels like we're even getting like that because especially once I learned about all the improv, getting like a very honest look at the actress as well.
Yeah, like this is basically kind of it's kind of who she is.
Yes,
so.
to some degree. Yeah, for sure. No, that's another great part of it. So. Yeah. So no flaws then. No.
Yeah.
So no flaws.
Perfect movie.
Watch the Green
first. I mean, honestly, you watch both of those though that we've talked about.
Yeah.
I would honestly recommend every Rohmer I've seen so far. I've seen Suzanne's Career and The Collector also.
You've seen the Bakery Girl?
No, I haven't seen the.
It's like
that
20
one
minutes, but like.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of the shortest too.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the Six Moral Tales.
It's the first one, yeah, but.
I guess I should mention that like. This movie was part of a different series it did called Comedies and Proverbs, and
Ooh, I like that name.
And like each movie had a proverb at the beginning. Let me find what the proverb for this one was, because I forgot.
Oh yeah, I do remember this. Yes. No, I don't remember what it was though. Oh my god. Find it.
Let's just anxiously wait.
No, while we're waiting for that, let's just go ahead and tell them what we're doing next week.
Oh yeah, so next week.
Okay, that's good.
We'll be talking about the left bank group of the French New Wave.
Another very interesting group of filmmakers.
If you aren't familiar with it, it's the main directors in are Agnès Varda, Jacques Demy, Alain Resnais, Chris Marker. I think that's basically the main group. And I think the three movies we're discussing are Umbrellas of Cherbourg, La Jetée, and Cléo French 7. That's what we're playing right now. All movies, honestly, I can't wait to talk about those movies. Cause,
I can't wait either, honestly.
Man, great movies there. Great lineup.
Umbrellas of Cherbourg is...
Because you're the one who really wanted to talk about Demy, too. Right?
Oh, yeah. I love Demy, dude. Demy, I mean, if you've seen Demy, you know he's amazing.
I just know I'm going to like Umbrellas of Cherbourg a lot more this next time, too.
Oh, yeah.
And I found the proverb, thank God.
Thank God.
It's a quote from a poet, Arthur Rimbaud. And it was, "Oh, may the time come when hearts fall in love."
Okay, that's a good proverb for that movie specifically.
It fits for sure.
All right. Well,
but so you already introduced the
next week?
Yep. So watch those movies: Cléo 5-7, La Jetée, and Umbrellas of Cherbourg.
That's a good ass lineup.
It is a good ass lineup.
I'm excited, dude.
All right.
Oh man, but well, catch you next time. Danny's trying to make me say some corny quote right now, but see you next time.